All right, Chicago Hockey Radio post-game show. Lee Grossman and Tassos Kirkos gave Justin the afternoon off because of how horrific of a game that was. Hawks lose 5-1 to the Florida Panthers. We're going to get into it all. We definitely have some thoughts here, but plug God Tassos right off the hop. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. You guys have been pumping up the subs, so appreciate that. Follow us on Instagram. We're like 3 followers away from 800. I really want to hit that mark as soon as possible. Shout out Lee for his goal compilation video. We can talk about that too in a minute. Live show at Midwest Coast Brewing March 5th. In-person live stream against the Ottawa Senators. Lee will also be live streaming the last game before the Four Nations face-off a week from today against the St. Louis Blues. And last thing, tomorrow is the last day to enter the CHR The Barn ticket giveaway for 100 level tickets to the game on Wednesday against the Senators. The Oilers. So I almost nailed it.
So close.
Yeah, I think that's it, though. Leave a 5-star rating and review, too. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even if you're not, if you're watching right now in the chat, head over to one of those audio pod-catching platforms. That's what they call them. And leave a 5-star rating. It helps us out a ton. All right. Hawks lose to the Florida Panthers. Thoroughly dominated. Like, I don't know how they got their butts kicked. You know, they got a little spanking on the bottom, you know. It looked good there for about 7 seconds.
7 seconds. If you just ended the game like 7-8 seconds in, it would have been an awesome post-game show. We would have been really happy. We would have been talking about how we beat the defending Stanley Cup champions. But unfortunately, a NHL hockey game is not 7 seconds long, and so that's kind of what happened. I think that was Luke Richardson's worst nightmare of a game. I feel like it was just so poor defensively from all areas of the ice. We just like outshot like crazy again. I think they had like 44 shots.
I thought they were going to hit 50.
So did I. They were
the second
on
period. After the second period, I was like, they're going to get over 50 here.
I think they took their foot off the pedal a little bit in the third on us.
Yeah, probably.
Which it could have been even worse, but we had like a lot of block shots. So if you just looked at like shot attempts, it was like disgusting. So yeah, just one of those where we just get absolutely dominated. We know that's a good team. Obviously they just won the Stanley Cup and are going to be another favorite going in this season. But woof, man, that was just brutal. I guess we could. Do you want to start with the first period? Do you want to get anything?
Yeah. Let's
dive into this.
You know, let's just break it down because you know that's what we're here for, kind of. And you know, there's plenty to like and not like, and you know, plenty of discourse. You know, we're going to talk mess and Subban and all that stuff too. So the 7-second goal, I was a little surprised that was the quickest goal scored in Blackhawks history.
I know, but it was so quick. Like, I don't know how it gets quicker than that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I think they said it was the fastest goal scored off the start of a game since Mitch Marner did it a few years ago, and I think he did it in like 4 or 5, which I don't even know how that's possible. I'm going to try and find the...
You just take a wrist shot from center ice?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Mitch Marner did. Oh, no, Mitch Marner also did it in 7 seconds. So It was January 3rd, 2019. So quickest goal to start an NHL game in 6 years. So yeah. This is pretty good. You know, the kid's been playing really well. That's probably the lone bright spot, and that's what happens. You know, you're aggressive right off the draw. You get a lucky bounce. You clear in on a breakaway. And, you know, I always say that, like, the best move on a breakaway is just to rip it from the hash marks. But if you're going to deke and you're landing Slaggert, like, keep it simple, you know, forehand, backhand, tucks it right through Bobrovsky. And, good goal.
I think he was able to get away with that one just because it was so quick. Like, Bob definitely was not ready. You're not expecting a guy to go on a clean breakaway 6 seconds into the game. So, yeah, it was a sick move and great for him to put one in the back of the net again. I think he's looked really good since his call up. He's been one of those guys with just so much energy. I saw somebody on Twitter say that Slags is the new Hagel. Slags is the new
I saw some of that too.
Which I do kind of see the player comp. I don't know if he's going to be as much of a scorer or point producer as Hagel obviously has turned into. But yeah, I mean, I think he's looked good. They were playing him as like the first penalty kill unit tonight with Foligno, and they obviously got beat a couple times. But I, as you said, one of the lone um,
Bright
positives,
spots. Yeah.
yeah, from this entire game was Landon Slager again. Just it's literally just effort at this point. Like a guy working that hard, he deserves it. So good to see. But horrible response after that
And
goal. Like,
maybe I just haven't been watching this rebuild long enough. This is the first season that I've been like tapped in every single game, right, to what's going on here. I had this like stupid optimism that they were going to continue that level of energy throughout the rest of the period, and it just looked like they died, dude. It looked like they were playing shorthanded the entire rest of the period. I don't know.
which I mean, they did. I think they had two penalties in the first. They ended up having like 12 penalty minutes. So I mean, it's going to be hard to win a game when you're in the box as much as they were. But yeah, even when they weren't, even 5-on-5, just dude, that Barkov line, man, they're just so good. They sustain pressure for so long. But I think the biggest thing with them, and you saw it today, the big discrepancies between these two teams is how easy it is for that team to enter the zone. And like
Yeah.
part of that is, I think, us not being strong enough defensively along the blue line. But dude, their zone entries are just so sweet. They just have Reinhardt or Barkov just fly into the zone, drop a pass off, and then they just have guys crashing the net. Yeah, it's a shame that all year long this has been a consistent problem where we score a goal and then immediately just go on the back foot and fall asleep, as you said, lay down and die. That's what happened in the entirety of the first period. That I think the final shots in the first period were like 20-2, dude. Like,
I'll pull it up here. I'm doing a little Sam Reinhart research for when we get to cats talk meow.
yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, okay. Do you want to do the goalie interference challenge
Yeah.
next? Because that was obviously the goal that tied it. I thought that was a pretty dumb challenge by Sorensen. I know you and Justin kind of felt the same way. I don't know why you're calling that. If your guy pushes your player or pushes their player into the goalie, Jason Dickinson pushes AJ Greer right into Peter Mrazek. I get Peter Mrazek like trying to sell the call a little bit. Maybe he didn't even really notice that Dickinson got him. But that's why you have video coaches, right? Like to prevent you from
Yeah,
making
did
a
they look
stupid
at
challenge.
it? Like, did they look at it more than once? I don't know. I think the mindset was probably we've had a couple called back against us this year for like some really soft goaltender interference calls. And like I feel like the precedent has been throughout this season, like if you make contact with the goalie in the crease, you're gonna get called for it. So I would assume maybe that's what they thought. They're like, hey, maybe they're just gonna give us this one because he did kind of fall on Mrazek. But he clearly got pushed into him. So bad challenge. And like right away, I was like, dude, this is not gonna get overturned, and then we're gonna be on the penalty kill again. And that's what happened. That just like did not help our momentum in that situation at all.
No.
Going back up there for a penalty kill. So
Justin actually put it in the chat. The final shots after the first period were 22-3. So after the remaining 19 minutes and 53 seconds of the first period, they had 2 shots on goal.
that's a woof. That is a woof of all woofs. And it's like I know that the narrative, and we talked about it on the show yesterday extensively, and I know media's asking them about shooting the puck, but it's like you can't shoot the puck when you're in your D zone the entire period. And that's what happened. It's not like we had a bunch of opportunities to rip them in that first and just weren't taking advantage of it. They completely dominated us. It was just too easy for them to pass around us and just like lackadaisical clearances. um, we can get into this the Reinhardt goal came off of in Subban and Messier, where more so Messier was just saying that like Bedard, that was so soft and he's got to earn his minutes. And like after that soft goal that he let up, he was right on the power play. And like that's not how young kids learn. And it's like, did you see how that play came about? TJ Brody had the easiest opportunity to clear the zone, but he tried to thread the needle to Teravainen up the ice, but he didn't have like a solid pass. He just like flipped it in the air, and it was the easiest keep for Reinhart in his life. And then he just kind of went to the net, and Bedard was a little lost at that point, probably because he thought the puck was going to get out of the zone, and it didn't. And then yeah, it was soft from Bedard. Like we gotta call
it was not
So,
strong
like,
enough, not strong enough on his stick. I do think it's a bit, it's easy to say from the comfy ESPN studios that, from Mark Messier and PK Subban, like it's easy for those guys to be like, oh, Bedard needs to play harder. And, I think what Messier said was like, oh, like enough is enough of this or something like that. Like you're past the point of making these mistakes. Part of me agrees with that. Part of me, is like, are you aware of who else is on the hockey team?
yeah, no, exactly. And like literally TJ Brody. Like I don't know how many times we can like pull our hair out and scream about this guy on the show, but Bedard's mindset there is, oh, my guys got the puck. We're starting to move up the ice here. We're clearly, we might not go on a break here, but we're going to get the puck out of the zone. And he just has that horrible clearance. And Reinhart, who was the guy that Bedard had to be on and inevitably scored the goal, was the one who was at the blue line, who kept it in and then made his way all the way to the front of the net. So it wasn't like it was an easy play for Bedard to cover that back door. He had the net wide open to him. But yeah, I think he could have been a little physically stronger with his stick. But part of me, dude, like when I watched this was like, I feel like maybe the second like full Florida Panthers game I've watched this season. Like, are we watching tape on these guys? They kind of do the same thing every time. It's like they enter the zone along one of the walls and then just have the two other forwards crash the net basically at the same time and look for the backdoor pass. They just fling pucks across the crease and just wait for someone to tap it in. I think they scored like 3 of the goals today like that. Like, are we not? It seemed too easy for them to get those passes across our crease and across the ice. Like, are we not talking about this before the game? Like, hey guys, they do this a lot. Let's be ready for it. And I don't know how you feel, but maybe just the Panthers are that good, and even if you're ready for it, they're still gonna play their game on you.
Good point from Trevor in the chat is like they box you out in front of their own net. Or in front, you know what I mean? In front of your net. Like they're better at boxing you out. Like I thought, if we're gonna go to second period here now, unless you had some more thoughts on the first, but I just like first. Go ahead. Okay, so I was just gonna say like the Tkachuk goal, which is like such a tough goal to give up because you've been arguably your best stretch of hockey came from the start of the second period up until the Tkachuk goal went in. And then it was like, okay, this is over. And it felt like the whole team realized that the game was over at that point. But,
you're right.
Connor Murphy, by the time the score is 3-1 and the Tkachuk goal goes in, Connor Murphy is a -3. He's on the ice for all 3 goals against. Woof. Just zero straight. Like, I don't know if you're going to get on Connor Bedard for not being strong enough on his stick on the Sam Reinhart goal, where then is the criticism for a veteran like Connor Murphy allowing, and I get it, Matthew Tkachuk's probably one of the best net front players in the National Hockey League, but there's zero pushback. Like you let him take up all the room he wants in front of your goalie's crease, and he gets a stick on. I forgot who shot the puck before it, hit off Tkachuk and goes in the net. But you get what I'm saying here. Like that. That's why. Like they are better. They do the thing you're talking about. But it's just not good.
It's like it's hard to defend, like for defensemen too, a little bit, because it's like one guy's got it like along the boards a little bit, and they're flying, and then another forward comes in and crashes the net, just like center of the ice, right in front of the goalie, crashes the net, and then they always have a guy back door, and so like it's also on our forwards to help them out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I brought it up on the pregame on Instagram. If you're not following Chicago Hockey Radio on Instagram, make sure you go do that right now. But I said on the pregame just that it's Murphy's first game back. We've seen this before. We've seen guys come back after being out for a couple months from injury. And yeah, he didn't play horribly, but like being out on the ice for 3 goals and just being soft around your net. It's like one of those things where maybe it's going to take him a couple weeks before he's like not playing soft like that. But so a note that I had from the first period, just like I know we like haven't really gotten into Cats talk, but just like Barkov right after the Slaggert goal, it looks like he just like sat up and was like, all right, I'm playing now. He's so dominant. He's so fast. He hurts you everywhere. That guy is unbelievable. And it literally felt like every time he was out on the ice, it was just like a power play. And also it didn't help that it was the Bedard, Nazer, Bertuzzi line, who are obviously not the best defensively up against their first line for most of that first period.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to go back, but yeah, it's just like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this guy is so fucking good.
Do you want to do some Cats talk now?
Yeah, let's do it,
Let's
man.
do it. Meow.
They're the definition of a contender, and just like think about like the spot they've got all of their stars wrapped up to like long-term deals. The cap is going up like crazy. I was on the phone with one of my buddies just before this post game, and I was just like, this is a team that could win one or two more cups in the next few years just because how good their core is. And then this cap going up, they're going to be able to supplement it. I don't know, dude. They just hurt you in so many ways.
Yeah, no state income tax too helps when you're trying to re-sign guys at a bargain. Like, what did Verhage get? It was like 8 times 7, and I don't know what was the Reinhardt one. If somebody could look that up,
I want to say it's 8? Like in the 10 range.
No, I don't think it hit 9, brother. I really don't. Like, so all right. While you're looking that up, I will say my Cats talk points. Yeah. Bill Zito might be the best general manager in the National Hockey League. He, not just locking these guys up to team-friendly deals long-term, like identifying your core, but bringing in, like, along with his scouting staff, like some of these depth guys to replace some of the guys that they lost. I know we talked on Friday's show yesterday about, them trying and then placing Adam Boquist on waivers, losing him to the Islanders. But his brother Jesper has been really good for them. I know he was the only minus player on the team, but he's still been really good for them. They brought in Tomas Nosek. Gadjevic was with the team last year, but he didn't really play a lot of games. Now he's like got more of a role on the team. They bring in these guys that have been, maybe passed over by other teams or not really identified. I'm trying to think of, AJ Greer, right? He's been pretty effective for them after bouncing around for a couple of teams. They got the defenseman Uvis Balinskis, and they brought in Nate Schmidt, and I think their scouting staff does an unreal job along with Bill Zito, right? Did you get that?
I think their second pairing, I did get it up, but I think their second pairing too is just so good. Just with Kulikov and Mikkola, those guys just feel impossible to beat. They're just so sound defensively. They're not like massive puck movers or anything, but when you've got the studs offensively that you do, you kind of just need shutdown guys. And so Sam Reinhart's contract is, you were right, it's 8.63.
That's crazy.
8.63. Kachuk is 9.5. And Barkov is 10.
Yeah.
And they're all till like 2030, 2032, 2033.
Wow. And like the Forsling contract, what did they give him? It's
I think it's like 5.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I am interested to
5.75.
5.75. Yeah.
Which is insane.
Along those lines, I am interested to see what kind of ends up happening, not just with Sam Bennett, because I feel like a lot of people talk about Sam Bennett being a UFA this year, but I'm really interested to see what ends up happening with Aaron Ekblad. He's their most important D-man, in my opinion, outside of Gus Forsling. And it's just been like, not always, it's a good relationship there. I think he loves being a Florida Panther. I'm really happy that he ended up being on the team when they got it done last year. I just think that once he gets to the open market, that the number will be higher than whatever is being offered in Florida for him, probably. But, I just think that decor does look a little bit different. Keep in mind, this isn't a team that, has a lot in the pipeline, right? Like, they've shipped off picks and prospects in order to, bring in these, the Bennetts, the Reinhardts, et cetera, right? So I think, obviously, as long as it doesn't probably push, like, what would you give Aaron? Like, I'd probably give Aaron Ekblad maybe 7 on an 8-year deal if he wants to stick around. I think he's making like 7.5 right now.
Yeah, he's making 7.5. It depends upon what the term is, but like with the cap going up, they should do everything they can to keep those two guys around, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah.
And like if they can keep them at a similar number, you know, you said the no state income tax, you're on a team that we know is going to be a contender for the next 5 years, probably. It's a comfortable position. You're also, it's not just no income tax, it's also Florida, like beautiful weather on the
Yeah.
beach. Like, I feel like that'd be so hard to leave. And who knows, maybe if he wants to go out and get that bag, hats off. But yeah, we'll see how that works. But you're right. I think if they're not able to re-sign him, that really shakes up that team. They got rid of Montour this past season, and I know that like I think people's perspective on Montour was that he's like the most important defenseman to them,
No.
but he wasn't. He was like their third or fourth most important defenseman, especially in that playoff run. He wasn't like
That big of a deal. Yeah.
no, not at all. But yeah, to your point, Ekblad is definitely a big part of that group. So we'll see if they're able to get that done.
The only
But
other Panthers point I had was Sam Reinhart, first star of the game, 3 points. That brought him up to 300 points for his Florida Panthers career in 295 games played. I don't know. I think it was a first round pick and Devin Levi for that trade, but like, you know,
dude, the Panthers are the model of like you don't have to build your team through a draft. Like they gathered the Avengers through trades.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And free agency, and now they have the best team of the the 2020s realistically.
Yeah. So Reinhart, it's very clear why they have the most players going to the Four Nations face-off in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, dude. Today it was like it wasn't even that poor of an effort for us. I just was thinking to myself the whole time, just like, oh my god, this Florida Panthers team is good. We said on the pregame, like hopefully maybe they kind of mail one in against us. They didn't mail one in. They just are so damn good and deep, and they play the right way. And it's just like the synergy of especially the forward groups. It just feels like they're always on the same page. And now that they've had a couple of runs, back to back, it's just they've played so much hockey together,
Yeah. Let's do. Yeah, I think that's all we got for Cats talk.
Cats talk.
Can we do crowd talk for a second before we do third period stuff? A lot of Hawks fans in the crowd. Like just like that's a good away market for the Blackhawks is Florida.
Absolutely, because it's Florida. People are vacationing there. Hawks fans do always travel pretty well. And dude, I know you're not going to really like this, but like anytime I catch a Florida Panthers game or highlight during the regular season, there's a lot of empty seats in that arena. Like I know they've played in the Stanley Cup Finals the past 2 years, but it's like it's not quite on the level that like even Tampa Bay's on yet. I think that as they continue to do what they're probably going to for the next few years, it will get there. Just like, if you have back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals, if they win another one this year, I think you'll start to see it fill up more and more, but it's still like,
is that the top Hawks away mark? And yes, I agree with you. Like it's still a fair weather. You're in the middle of college sports central. Like they don't care. Like the Dolphins, the Heat, I guess, but that's like Miami. The Dolphins is like Miami adjacent. Nobody really cares about the Miami Marlins at all. But it's like you're in the middle of like college sports central, like where everybody's like people care more about their college football team than they do their NFL team. It's a very like fair weather pro sports market. So I agree with you though. Like I think the more that they show that they're going to be consistently relevant, then the fans will come, right?
Yeah, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
You were just about to ask me if I think that's the best
Hawks road market. Probably, right?
I was going to say no, just wait till next Saturday when we're in St. Louis.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. I will.
We'll see. That's going to be my prediction. We'll see. We'll talk about it on the stream next Saturday that we're doing together. Yeah. But that would be my prediction is that St. Louis is probably the best just because it's so close. there's a lot of fans in Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, that it's closer for them to get to St. Louis than it is to get to Chicago. So
True. All right. Third period. So the Hawks let in a goal 10 seconds into the period. Evan Rodriguez does his best Landon Slaggert impression, gets the Panthers up 3. I obviously, I said that it kind of, there was that deflating feeling on the bench where the game already felt out of reach after the Kachuk goal, but literally 0 starting on time for the period, right? Like, and I will say it was a really soft play by Vlasic behind the Panthers' neck, getting stripped of the puck. And that's a couple games now in a row where I've noticed soft play tendencies from 72.
Yeah, it's been a bad stretch for him, honestly. Just defensively speaking, I thought he got in the rush a couple times today, and he looked pretty nice when he had the puck. But it just feels like some of these guys, we need to get to this Four Nations break and have a reset. Because it's been a bad few games for him, to be honest with you. You want him to be that you want him to be that reliable stay-at-home guy. You don't want to see him making like soft mistakes like that in his own zone. So not much more to say. I don't, that's not a guy I want to bag on, because I do think he's one of the biggest parts of this team now and for the future. But yeah, not his best game.
Yeah. I will say too, I hate that. Like, I've heard that on other post-game shows for different teams around the league or different like sport, like hockey talk radio. It's like, oh, these guys need a break. These guys need a break. Like, Lee, these guys are professional athletes. Like, how old is Alex Vlasic? 23 years old.
Yeah, he's like 24, I think.
Okay, dude, that's what the money's for, brother. Like,
yeah. No. I know. I'm not saying that it's like a good thing or right, but it's just like,
you know who needs a break? You and I. You know who needs a break? The people in the coal mines, dude. I get it.
He's making like $4 point something million a year.
Yeah, that's what the money's for.
Go cry in your silk sheets.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I do love that perspective. I do love, like, suck it up, buddy.
Yeah.
You're playing the game you love. No, I just mean like mental, not like he's been worn down. It's just like, it's like calling a timeout. It's like, why do you call a timeout in a game? We need to call a timeout really quick for the season.
No, I get it. I just, everybody needs a break, but, and this is like the dog day. I think if you ask like anybody in hockey, anybody in like hockey media, like this is definitely like the dog days of the season, but come on,
like
dude.
Before the final stretch. And yeah, it's like,
he's a 23-year-old pro athlete,
Yeah, no, you're right. I do think that we had a power play like pretty soon after that. And I think that was like the only good power play we had from the game. I think we had one in the first and one in the second that were just abysmal, could not get the puck in the zone. We had a couple of nice looks on that power play. It's just about getting the puck in the zone and like controlling it, because we weren't able to do that at all on the first couple of power plays. I don't know what this team's plan is going forward as far as zone entries. Like, who's going to be it for most of the start of the season, and like last year, it was like they were dropping it off to Bedard every single time, and he was carrying it in, trying to stick handle and find a pass. But now it feels like they've been mixing it up a little bit, and it hasn't helped anyone. It's like, I don't know if any of these guys are capable of doing it. I think maybe like Frank Nazar could be a guy you'd want carrying the puck into the zone on a power play, but he's obviously on the second unit. I don't like, are there ways, do you kind of just need like a guy to be able to do it? Or is it something the team can work on to get better at?
Well, I mean, obviously they should be like working on it in practice and stuff. I don't know how much they're like working on the power play in practice. You and I said it on the live stream, like they should at least, if you're trying to create like a major shakeup for a team, that isn't a real contender right now, make the second unit the first unit, or you don't even need to like make the second unit the first unit, but throw them over the boards first sometimes when you get some of these power plays. If you just know that some of these vets plus 98 aren't going to bring the juice, like throw them over the boards first.
Yep, because Doc and Nazar and Reichel are gonna be starving for it. And yeah, tonight it was like, I think the second unit came over the boards for like the final 18 seconds of one, the final 20 seconds of another. They left the first unit out there the whole time, which I know I've said is like the key to success in winning in 2025 in the National Hockey League. But when it's not working, let the second unit get some reps, because it's like you need to shuffle the deck a little bit, to your point.
Yeah. I didn't really have many thoughts on the last goal. It was just, good play by the Panthers. I guess maybe a missed assignment by whoever the winger was. But I don't know. Not really. It was just a nice play.
It was a nice play, and I kind of felt the same way about the Kachuk goal, honestly, that it was kind of just like a nice play. But my last few notes from the third period, where I don't even specifically remember the play, but I think Martinez just had like a super lazy pass in the offensive zone, like along the blue line, that obviously turned into a turnover. And I just said, Martinez not even trying in the O zone. And that's kind of how it felt like. I don't know. To like wrap up this like whole game, we talked about, and Kyle Davidson's mentioned it, and like the media keeps talking about how this roster's getting younger and younger. And now with Murphy backsliding in, and you sit Nolan Allen for TJ Brody, it's like we're kind of moving in the opposite direction. Starting Mrazek too. I think this team, it's like you say your identity is that you're getting younger and you're working towards the future, and then you backtrack on that. It's like, why is TJ Brody getting all these starts in a row when he's playing bad? Like, if one of our young defensemen had that play on the Reinhart goal where they failed to get it out of the zone, like if Del Mastro did that, he would have been a healthy scratch the next game.
Yeah.
But TJ Brody isn't. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, Alec Martinez, if you're not moving him, like, he's not been good. It's so frustrating, and now it feels like those guys obviously aren't going to be moved. So it's like, just sit them.
Well, they're not
like,
worth anything.
I know.
Nobody who's going to want to pick them up. Nobody.
Yeah, no. If Martinez was like, if his contract was like $1.5 million, yeah, someone would take him. But
maybe the New York Islanders, considering they're just trying to collect every defenseman in the NHL that's available for nothing.
Yeah, I just got rumored that a trade is brewing between the Hawks and the Islanders. Brody and Martinez are going to the Islanders in exchange for Matt Barzal. So that's really interesting coming out of the island.
All right. Did you have anything else from this game? I had one point. It's not very kind, but it is a point nonetheless. John Buchagras, and like, look, I'm going to preface this by saying, like, in the dark days of ESPN's coverage of hockey, so before they got the broadcasting rights here in the new TV deal where they split with TNT, John Buchagras, oh gosh, who am I thinking of? The former Barry Melrose, like, those guys were really instrumental in keeping hockey visible on ESPN in a period. Greg Wyshynski too, guy, on the writing side more for Wish, obviously, but those guys were really instrumental as far as, keeping the game on ESPN. Otherwise, like, literally nobody would ever talk hockey on ESPN. And Buchagras is like a really good, college hockey guy too. Like, he does a lot to bring college hockey to the national platform. John Buchagras is not an NHL play-by-play guy. I'm sorry. Like, he's really, really, really not. And if you're paying however many hundreds of millions of dollars for the NHL TV rights deal, like, you can do better, ESPN. Like, do better than that. Like, put John Buchagras on some college hockey games if you want, but he's great for college hockey. He's not an NHL play-by-play guy.
I agree with you, dude. The problem is now that there's so many different companies broadcasting games and like under national TV, it's like there's kind of less guys to choose from. It's
that's not true. I disagree with that thoroughly.
Who would you like on there that's available?
I don't know, dude, but you're ESPN. Like, there are better guys you can pull for some of these nationally televised games. Like, you don't need the guy that's just like been grandfathered into the job because he was on ESPN helping cover hockey 25 years ago. Like, I'm sorry, find literally anybody else. Anybody.
Yeah, I think also maybe ESPN is just bad at that, because we all know they're not the best at covering this sport.
No.
hopefully they get someone in there that can be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't hire this guy or hire this guy. But yeah, it's just like any time that I would rather the games be on CHSN than ESPN. I'm paying fucking $20 a month. Like I'd rather it be on CHSN and hear Rick Ball. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, Rick Ball's really,
awesome.
Rick Ball's
He's awesome.
excellent.
He's awesome.
One of the best in the league. So
we've kind of always been, spoiled. Like, it's crazy to think that we had, Pat Foley and Eddie Olczyk for like decades. So, yeah, I'm always going to whine about that stuff too, just because I feel like I'm probably a little spoiled brat.
Yeah, and like, look, no disrespect to Bucci, but like, there's,
Yeah,
like,
you can't, I mean, it's not disrespectful for you to call a spade a spade. Like, we got to call balls and strikes on the show. Yeah. Like, if the call's bad, the call's bad.
And according to the internet, like, I'm not the only person that feels that way. So,
yeah, I'm sure.
There are plenty of people in my corner on that. Dude, did you see JT Miller's already got a goal today?
I saw that in chat, and I was like, I started the stream like looking over, trying to turn the game on. And I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't be focusing on JT Miller right now. I saw Trocheck posted a picture of them like drinking wine at Trocheck's house last night, and Miller was holding Trocheck's daughter, giving her a hug. So
yeah,
really wholesome to see them back together, and hopefully, I mean, look, I think it's good for the NHL for the New York Rangers. I don't know about you, but I think it's good for the NHL to have the New York Rangers in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I know we like to dunk on them a lot, but if we could see Miller work there, and then I don't know, I can't wait for them to play Vancouver and see him like drop the gloves with Elias Pettersson or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, they play in the Four Nations face. Like, they'll play each other in the Four Nations face off in a couple of weeks. So,
that's gonna go.
Yeah, obviously we'll break down that trade and, the subsequent trade they made. And then there was the Dallas trade with the Sharks, which confused me a little bit. The only thing
There's so many players going back and forth. I'm like, okay.
The only thing I will say, just like gut reaction, JT Miller, that whole thing last night, Vancouver is the big losers here. I think,
obviously,
the big losers.
They're big losers because it's not like they were trying to get rid of JT Miller because he's like not good at hockey. It was a dispute inside the locker room that became such an issue that they knew that this group was not going to be able to stay together and work. So with that being said, they're not going to have any leverage, and they got what, first round in
a top 13 protected first rounder, which is a joke. Good for the Rangers. Good for the Rangers, not for the Canucks. Like,
right now, because they're trying to win.
Maybe top 5 protected, but top 13, dude. Like, you just sold a guy who scored 105 points last year for pennies on the dollar. All right.
Yeah. Hughes needs to get the fuck out of there. We'll talk about this more.
Yeah. I mean, hey, dude, I was in some of my group chats last night. I was throwing that idea out there that like he might be gone, and I didn't hear a lot of people disagree. I heard some disagreeing with me, but not others. So
I bet you he would rather be in New Jersey right now for league minimum than on this Vancouver Canucks team.
Maybe.
We'll end with that.
Maybe. All right. That's it from us. Subscribe to this podcast. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel at Chicago Hockey Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. Like I said, off the rip, we're so close to 800 followers. I would love to be there by the time we all convene next Monday morning. Live stream a week from today. Ticket giveaway ends tomorrow night, and a live show with me, myself, Justin, and Lee all together. Plus Raven will be there as well. At Midwest Coast Brewing, March the 5th against the Ottawa Senators. RSVP link is in the description of this episode down below. So let us know if you're coming. Let us know if you're not coming. Like, I just want to know that an RSVP link actually works. Like, let's see.
Yeah, guys, get in that ticket giveaway. I would love for, I hope that it's someone who's actively in our chat that wins. Those tickets are fucking sick. Don't miss out on that if you haven't answered yet.
I would rather it be, as we call you all, CHR enjoyers than a CHR noob. I would rather that. All right. That's it from us. Everybody enjoy the day off tomorrow. We'll be back Monday. Justin will be back, and we will see everybody then. Peace out.